Alrighty guys, how many of you have been to the Nashville Zoo? So we have lots of knowledge. What do you think when you're putting a new animal in the zoo or when you're laying the zoo out? Well, first of all, who does that job? Who do you think has that job? Lauren?
Engineer.
An engineer or something. What do you think they have to consider before adding a new area to the zoo, a new animal, a new exhibit, a new building, anything? What do you think they have to think about, Colson?
How much space they need.
They probably have to think about how much space that building or that animal needs, correct? What other considerations do you think they have to take in? Ms. Zoe?
How many animals are going to be in that exhibit?
How many animals? Okay, so again, that kind of relates to how much space they're going to need, right? So how many animals? What else, Ms. Ella?
I was going to say the same thing as Colson.
Same thing as Colson. What else, Ms. Penelope?
What animal it is?
Ooh, what animal it is. So again, that kind of goes back to space, correct? How much space they're going to need for that animal. Do you have another thought, Sloan?
How expensive it is?
Oh, how much money they're going to spend, right? Okay, so lots of different things. But what about when they make that habitat for that animal? What are some things they might need to consider as well, Mr. Kingston?
How much property they're going to need?
How much property? Okay, so again, we're kind of all going back to how much space they need, right? What are you thinking, Sammy?
The right, climate.
Oh, the right climate. So kind of mimicking their actual natural habitat. Will, do you have one more thought?
The right natural habitat.
Their natural habitat. Very good. So when we're thinking about putting a new animal, here's kind of a map of a zoo. So we're kind of looking at the space needed. What math concepts do you think are related to that, Rin?
Area and perimeter.
We definitely have to think about area, right? So thinking about area, what other math concepts do we have to think about when we're figuring the total area of a space, Dean?
Because if you're containing an animal, you need to figure out how thick the fencing.
Ooh, so we got to think about
perimeter.
The perimeter. Okay, I like it. Area and perimeter. We got to think about keeping that animal contained because we don't want any wild animals getting out of their habitats, correct? What else, Mr. Sammy?
Multiplication.
Is there any multiplication involved in area? Absolutely. So we've got multiplication. What other math concepts might tie in with these thoughts? Miss Penelope?
Division.
Maybe some division as well. Alexandra?
Addition.
Maybe some, if we're doing perimeter, we know we got to have some addition as well. So we've got all sorts of math thinking that's going to go into this concept of adding an animal to the zoo. So I'm going to give you guys kind of a real life situation. Let's say our Nashville Zoo is going to add a new animal and they want to add a cheetah. So like you guys said, we need to know some stuff about cheetahs before we can put them into the zoo, correct? And we got to take into consideration a lot of things. For example, cheetahs need a lot of room because if you look on the board, cheetahs are the fastest land animal. Their top speed is around 113 kilometers per hour. So thinking about that, what would an engineer need to think about before they could add a cheetah habitat into the zoo, Matthew?
They need to make it very big so that way it can run around.
Needs a lot of space, right? An adult weighs an average of 160 pounds and they grow to be about 3 feet tall. Now, can you kind of estimate how tall is about 3 feet? Kind of do a little estimation with your arms, yeah? Well, I'll give you a reference point. I'm 5.5 feet tall. So a cheetah, pretty tall for an animal, right? Yeah, maybe right about here if we do some estimating. Alrighty. They don't roar like other large cats. Why might that be important when they're deciding where a cheetah could fit into this zoo, Will?
Because they try to stalk prey.
Ooh, they're sneaky. Okay, they stalk their prey, but they don't roar. Is that a consideration we might need to think about, Jackson?
Yes, because you have to think about where you would put it.
Good placement in the zoo. But a cheetah needs at least, look at this number, 4,800 square feet for a zoo habitat. So we have a little challenge we need to work on this morning. We're going to work with our shoulder partners and we're going to actually look at a zoo layout and we're going to think, is there room in the zoo for a cheetah habitat? So when we go back to our desks in just a second, there are some zoo maps laying on your desk. Now we need to stop and think and do a little math and think, is there room in the zoo, considering everything a cheetah needs, is there going to be room in the zoo to put a cheetah habitat? So when you guys go back to your desk, you're going to need the following materials. You're going to need out whiteboards, you're going to need a map of the zoo, and you're going to need your expo markers, possibly a pencil to write on your zoo with as well. We're going to be working with our shoulder partners for the next few minutes to try to solve this problem to see if there's room to put a cheetah in the zoo. Does that make sense?
So what me and Dan thought goes on here.
Ooh.
Because whenever we multiplied, like we counted all the squares
Okay.
for counting them, we realized that it is a lot more than 48,000, so it gives them a little bit more room to roam.
Yeah, did anybody else have the same thinking as Dean and Lauren? I love that because on the considerations it said at least, right? It said at least 4,800. So having more room to roam gives them even more space. So did they come up with a pretty good solution? Absolutely. Did anyone have a different thought that wants to come up and share? Luke, why don't you come up and share with us what you and your partners were thinking?
So me, Andrew, and Will thought the long and skinny one all over to the right.
We see lots of me toos.
Because there's a walkway right next to it, so there's it's not like next to something except the aquarium, and it won't interrupt them because they don't roar.
Okay.
And all the other ones have like a lot of bad things about them.
Okay.
But there's some things bad about this one, and they run like a long distance in a short amount of time, so they can run like
sprints
faster.
almost, right? Yeah. Very cool. So they came up with the idea of giving the cheetahs a nice long room to run, and I saw lots of me toos. Very good. Good thinking. Very good. Did anybody else have a different solution to the problem? Emily, you have a different solution to the problem? Come on up and share with us.
So basically, Sloan and Rin chose this one because basically, if we did this one, it might like get into the petting zoo and eat the if there's anything that it might eat in the petting zoo. So we didn't choose that one.
Okay. Well, hopefully they're thinking about a nice, strong perimeter for the cheetahs too, so that doesn't happen.
We didn't choose this one since it might. We didn't know if it would eat the zebras, but it might. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing your ideas. One consideration, though, when we're thinking about a zoo, the cheetahs aren't going to be able to get out of their exhibit, right? They're going to take in consideration what they need to do to prevent that from happening. So you guys had some very, very good thinking. So what we're going to do next is we're going to extend that thinking into your own zoo creations, where you have a list of requirements that need to be in a zoo as well. So you guys have the materials that you need for this in your black folders. So you can just slide this part into your black folders as well when you get back to your desk. We're going to start a little bit of independent work in some small groups now. So here's what you guys are going to be working on. All right, for your independent work this morning, we're going to work on our area and perimeter zoos. So applying the concepts and what we know about area and perimeter to creating our own zoo, putting our own animals into it. So take about 20 or 30 minutes of your independent time today to work on that. Then you also have a freckle assignment assigned to you with one of those math concepts that is really, really important when we're thinking about area and perimeter. So you have a freckle assignment assigned to you on factor pairs, coming up with factor pairs of numbers. Because as we've found, as we've worked with area, that's pretty important stuff, isn't it? Yeah, so that's a good skill to support what you need to know for area and perimeter. So when I dismiss you guys, we're heading back to our desks. We're taking out black folders. This zoo goes into it, and take out your zoo and area perimeter stuff. And I'll be calling some small groups while you guys start working on that. Any questions before we head to our seats? Yes, ma'am. You good? Okay. 1, 2, 3.